This is the Youth Chat, a podcast edition of the Namibian Youth Paper.
Good day and welcome to the first ever episode of the Namibian's Youth Chat. Now, this is sort of a podcast platform that will dive deeper into youth stories produced by the Namibian Youth Paper every Monday. My name is John Colin Namene, and today we'll be talking friendship. Now, last week we did a story about the importance and value of friendship, and we were fortunate enough to put faces to the story in the form of Sabrina Hess and Jomari-ann Beukes, who have been friends for just over 17 years. To discuss friendship, I am joined by Jomari-ann Beukes herself and an intern psychologist and social worker from Geluk Psychology, Mrs. Elsabé Grotzinger. Thank you so much for joining us, Jomari-ann and Mrs. Grotzinger.
No problem.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Now, I want to sort of start off with an abstract from the story that we wrote. It's attributed to Sabrina Hess. She says, and I quote, "There are certain aspects in your life no mother, father, husband, or sister can fill, until one day you meet that one person who suddenly fills this void you never knew you had. And I believe that's what friendship is. Two people who just fit together, no questions asked." Now, I mean, that's sort of simply put, but I think it's quite profound also because it sort of speaks to, you know, the necessity of friendship for society to function. And society has many institutions. You know, we have the family, we have the government, we have church, you know, and I guess relationships also, but none more so is important than friendship. Mrs. Grotzinger, from sort of a psychological point of view, how important is friendships to human being, especially just to, you know, the way we function in society and sort of to build our personalities and character?
Thank you. I think friendships are extremely important. And you described it actually well. Friendships is a type of relationship where there's a certain type of trust that you don't necessarily, there's different levels of trust.
Yeah.
But with friendships, you share specific things that you wouldn't share with a colleague or with a mother or father or sister or child or whatever. So the friendships play also the role where you need to complain about what the child did or what, and you know.
Yeah.
So when it comes to friendships, it's about a true relationship. That is a very important aspect as part of the social networks. And those are the friendships that actually causes dopamine. It causes the happy feelings and it causes a safe feeling.
Yeah.
And I think the trust and the safety and that positive feelings that is being created is what makes friendships
Now, Jomari, we obviously
important.
Thank you, Ms. Grotzinger. Jomari, we obviously spoke to you about your friendship with Sabrina, and you know, Mrs. Grotzinger also just now echoed the importance of that and sort of how it's necessary for human beings to function. Just from your point of view, how important do you think friendship is, especially in the context of your friendship with Sabrina? How important has that friendship been to your life?
I mean, we're so fixated on being alone these days because of a majority of reasons. However, we really need a companionship, whether it be, you know, just an acquaintance or, I don't know, we just need someone.
Yeah.
As humans are scared to admit that we need someone who we can occasionally rely on. So we need to accept that friendship is an important aspect in our lives, and it needs to be normalized. Sabrina and I, we don't talk every day, but when we do, it's as if we spoke yesterday.
Yeah.
However, we spoke maybe like 2-3 months ago, but it comes so naturally because I trust her, she trusts me, we can easily open up. So it is very important to have someone like that in your life, because I can't let me make an example. Say I'm in a relationship with someone. I can't always open up with him about every aspect in my life. Sometimes I really just need a female perspective, or I just need a female's trust. And so friendships are really important.
Now, according to a theory of Aristotle, there's sort of three kinds of friendships, right? There's a friendship of utility, there's a friendship of pleasure, and there's the perfect friendship. Mrs. Grotzinger, I don't know if you are aware of the different types of friendships, but, according to me, this is speaking from a personal point of view now, I think friendships can sort of be nuanced, and you can find different types of friendships. You can find your friendship in either your mother or your cousin or somebody you just met 2-3 months ago, or in the case of Sabrina and Jomari, a friendship that has gone through the test of time, for instance, with them 17 years, right? So if you can perhaps just touch on the types of friendships, like what sort of types of friendships are they, and what do they require? What are their sort of characteristics?
Yeah, I think you have different friendships, like you mentioned. You can have a friendship with your husband, with your child, with your mother, with your sister, with your best friends, with other friends, with colleagues. But what makes the friendship unique is the type of relationship and the intensity and the safety, like I mentioned. But which you call in Afrikaans a kennis, but it's somebody who you don't share sensitive information or trustful or confident. So people need to be aware who they share confidential information with, who they share their heart's desires with. And that is what differentiate the types of friendships that you have. Yes, some people have I think I have a very good friendship with my mom, but so I also have good friendship with my daughters. But there is a different level of, as far as information sharing and the type of information that you share. But the thing is, when you share something with somebody, it needs to be treated with a level of respect. So a best friend or mother or daughter or husband or whoever cannot then take this information and share it with somebody else, because otherwise it will harm the relationship, and it's going to leave one or the other person broken or disappointed at the end. So you get true friendships, and you don't get a lot of those, unfortunately. I was fortunate quite a bit. I'm 52 years old, but I have a lot and lots of friendships for many, many years.
Now, I think it's important sometimes to sort of set boundaries in friendships, right? Especially just with what you said now, Mrs. Grotzinger, in terms of sharing information, for instance, like, sure, this one person is my friend, and by sort of the very nature and virtue of our friendship, it's sort of expected to share everything, right? I have to tell you when I am in a new relationship. I have to tell you when I get a new job. I have to tell you when, my cousins from, I don't know, the north or the south are coming over. It's just sort of expected sometimes in friendships, right? So, Jomari, is there sort of a boundary that you set with your friends? I mean, it doesn't have to be Sabrina, your other friends as well, that sort of leads you not to share every sort of bit of information with them? Is there something that you keep to yourself? Is it something that you only tell a specific type of friend? Or is it that one friend that you just share every single thing with?
Yes, of course. In my current friend group, I can call her my best friend right now, because I share absolutely everything with her. We started studying together at UNAM doing the biochemistry, so I grew closer to her, and obviously I feel comfortable enough to share everything with her. So with her, I don't need to put up a guard or think twice about talking about something or anything. But with the rest of the group, we always make this joke where we say, know your crowd. So you really need to evaluate the situation, observe the situation before just like saying something, because that person also has a best friend. And then so the story just continues. And if you just wanted to keep it between, like, let's say between three people, there's no guarantee that it'll stay there.
Mm-hmm.
So I try my best not to share too much.
Mm-hmm.
So it is difficult at times, because sometimes people put up this great act where you really believe, okay, so this is a really good friend, but then 2-3 weeks pass and then all your stories are out and about.
Yeah.
So it really just, it differs from person to person. You really need to be able to differentiate between an acquaintance and an actual genuine true friend.
Do you sort of expect your friend to tell you everything? Like, would you
No.
for instance be disappointed if in the case of your best friend now, would you be disappointed if she went to go tell an acquaintance something that is sort of expected to be shared within friendships, and then she went to go tell that to somebody else and not you, and you found out through the grapevine or whatever? Would that upset you?
Oh no, because she felt comfortable in sharing it with the other person. So I don't feel the need, or I don't feel I should act up if I had to hear it through the grapevine. Because if it was important enough, this is what I believe, that she would actually come to me and just talk about it. We haven't had a situation yet where I heard something through the grapevine that she actually just meant to tell me.
Yeah.
So our communication is great, actually. And yeah, we haven't had an incident yet. I say yet, but I hope that it won't happen, because maybe the human in me, I might be a little sad.
Sure.
But I wouldn't be bothered as much by it.
Yeah, it's only natural.
Yeah.
Now, getting back to you and Sabrina, you guys have been friends for just over 17 years, right? Going to 18. I mean, Mrs. Grotzinger also spoke about how, she has had friends over the years. How do you think you and Sabrina have sort of, defeated the test of time, or I guess passed the test of time, and managed to solidify your friendship for this long? Because I mean, relatively 17 years isn't that long. I mean, we know people that have been friends for over even 40 years, but just from a young person's perspective, 17 years is almost a lifetime, So what are sort of the important things that you and Sabrina have sort of made sure, to keep consistent, or just to make important in order for your friendship to last this long?
I think the moment you add the pressure to keep a friendship alive, that's the first, like, the wrong direction you're taking. Because if you have to relate it to Sabrina and I, don't get me wrong, it's not like we don't put in effort.
Sure.
There definitely is effort, and it's supposed to be there, and you need effort to keep the spark alive. But it comes so naturally. Of course, we drifted apart. I don't know, for a good year we did not see each other. But life just sort of brought us together again.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's difficult to put into words and to explain how it just works. But I think there's no external pressure from other people. People know that Brina and I, we've been friends, so they can't come between us. They don't even try to come between us, because we would just brush it off and move on. So if you don't have the external pressure from, let's say, for example, she has, or I have a new friend, she doesn't feel pressured by that, because the dynamic changed. The things Brina and I shared, I can't share with my new friend. Like my new friend and I, we do completely different things.
Sure.
We have different interests. We have, different hobbies, whatever.
Of course.
But with Brina, whenever we link, it's like, let's do this, this, and this, and it'll be as if we're back in high school.
Yeah.
Because primary school, once we were children, man.
Yeah, of course.
So we can relate better to high school memories compared to primary school memories.
Yeah.
So now that we're in university, we can easily just go back to our high school lives, like laugh about things, talk about things, that inside jokes and those types of things. And it's because we don't have the external pressure from other people or other factors. So it just works.
Yeah, there's sort of some ingrown sort of cellular memory that you guys share between the two of you.
Yes. Yeah.
Now, Ms. Grotzinger, taking into consideration what Jomari has just said right now, what sort of directions do you think young people should take to sort of also pass the test of time and, to sort of make sure that their friendships last as long as possible? I mean, you were young at a point, and people say even, being 50 is still like being 30 or 40. So I would still consider you as young also. But I mean, you have experience, with friendships, right? So from a personal point of view and from a psychological point of view, what is important? What are the necessary elements to pass the test of time in friendships?
I think it's important to know what type of friendship you have with a person so that you can know what to share. Mm-hmm. You get fair-weathered friends, the good time friends. It's friends that are friends because they can gain something from you. Mm-hmm. And you need to be able to distinguish what type of information you share with that person. Yeah. So it is, are they some type of competition? Mm-hmm. Do they make you feel bad about yourself? Do they celebrate with you? Do they drain your energy? I actually had people who actually drained my energy. Yeah. That I actually had to separate myself from them because it's a one-to-one situation. Mm-hmm. But so you need to be aware. I teach my children so that they know what to share with people, and they need to know what type of friends they have, because you do get different types of friends. Yeah. You get acquaintances. You get a peer friend, you get a close friend, and you get a best friend. Mm-hmm. So I have something that I share, different types. At work, I have a best friend. Mm-hmm. But I also would share with her confidential stuff. But then I have another very close friend also, who is also a social worker, with whom I share other types of stuff. Yeah. So it is, and a friend, when you are a friend, you need to respect that. And not talk about your friend's stuff to somebody else. Yeah. And I see it very much between the youngs, the trustworthiness, the honesty, mm-hmm. The dependability, and that easily trust of people, and the judgmental that they have. Sense of being judgmental that they have in friendships. Mm-hmm. And that is what, being a good listener. If your friend wants to talk all the time and not give you time, it will irritate you. Yeah. And also just to add to the previous question that you have been asking, I need to tell my friend, yes, but I was upset with you mm-hmm. when I had to hear things through the grapevine. I actually told a friend of mine, her daughter got engaged, mm-hmm. and we are very good friends. And she said, oh, I have some news. She's like, I know already. Because that's the type of friendship that you should have. Exactly. You need to have an honest relationship to tell your friend, but I'm actually upset with you, man. Mm-hmm. Why do I hear on Facebook that your daughter got married and you don't tell me? But then we have a good laugh about it. Yeah. But you need to be able to be upset with your friend, and you need to be able to forgive, and you need to be able to laugh about things that happen in friendships.
Now, you mentioned something that I just quickly want to touch on, and I think that is quite interesting. You spoke about competition, and you said that it's not that important for friends to compete with each other, or it isn't quite advisable, right? But I sort of see competition as somewhat of a good thing, because I remember I had this friend of mine who he was very active in sports, right? And by virtue of his sporting nature, he was also just very competitive, right? So it would be a thing of, let's go go-karting just as a friendship activity, and let's see who comes first. And then he sort of like brags about it and all of that. And obviously it will create good banter. But then I think that if you sort of grow up being competitive with each other, that will also transcend into your other areas of life, in terms of just doing well for yourself. If you see your friend doing well for him or herself, moving out at the age of 22 maybe, and having his or her life set already, sure, it's not great to compare yourself with other people, but I think that sort of good competitive spirit is I think it's necessary sometimes in friendship. Also, just to to sort of elevate yourselves as people, to make yourselves valuable to society, to make yourselves valuable for yourselves. And just to keep a great spirit in between the friendship. I don't know, Mrs. Grotzinger, how important do you think competition is between friends?
I think competition is a great thing,
Mm-hmm.
but then it needs to be healthy. So within sport, when it encourages you to do better,
Mm-hmm.
and where there's no sense of jealousy and where your self-esteem is being touched. So what you say is extremely true.
Yeah.
But then also when it's an unhealthy competition, where people when it's unhealthy, that competition, people can actually start to be negative to each other, and where it becomes a punitive relationship and a gossip relationship if the one stands in the offer. Yeah, so it's a two what do you call that?
Two-way street.
A two-way street,
Yeah.
a two-cutting blade or whatever.
Yeah.
Something like that.
I also just wanted to touch on something quickly here. When friends go through fights, I mean it's sort of a natural thing for human beings to argue all the time. I think that sometimes when friends fight, they sort of, or when they disagree and bicker, they sort of, sometimes they think that it's the end of the road for them, but I think the more you fight, the more you sort of realize what type of person I'm dealing with, and you also decide whether you do want to continue a sort of friendship or relationship with this person. Jomari, how important are fights for you and your friends, just in terms of establishing personalities, getting to know who the person is, getting to learn how to navigate through the situation, through negative situations like fights, but also how do you overcome your fights? I know you and Sabrina spoke about having an open channel of communication. Is that the same with you and your other friends?
Okay, yes. Communication and comprehension is key.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to understand each other. We need to understand why the argument came into place and why it happened the way it happened. But we should normalize it being okay.
Yeah.
It's okay to argue with a friend, and it's okay that in that moment it feels like it's the end of the world.
Mm-hmm.
With Sabrina and I's second biggest argument that we have, I think I mentioned it in the questions that I had to answer. The grade 8
mm-hmm.
story where yeah. So I honestly thought, wow, okay, so I'm going to lose my best friend now. I came to Delta with her. Who will I be friends with? And I went into this depression state, and it was horrible.
Yeah,
but
I can imagine.
We're so immature. We're so young. When I look back now, I laugh at it and I'm like, wow, I was dramatic. But we overcame it, and we're still friends. And with my current friends, it is more difficult now to get over an argument because we are grown.
Uh-huh.
We do things differently, but the point stays that we overcome it eventually. But with my current best friend, she always jokes around and says that she would not do anything to see me angry because she saw me angry once and she doesn't want to see it again.
Yeah.
So I think, I don't know, it differs from person to person how you handle the situation. Some people walk away and then they don't want to be the bigger and better person. They just let the situation go. It grows. A grudge is like there forever.
Yeah.
But I really believe in comprehension. That is key. Not communication. It's easy to talk and to say okay, but if you don't understand,
then it makes it very difficult.
Yeah. So if you reach that point in your friendship where you understand each other and why the person acted the way he or she did, why the situation arose itself, like why whatever happened, then I think you can easily go for 20 plus years of friendship if you just understand why.
Wow, I think you said that beautifully. That's a very important and interesting element as well. Comprehension and just understanding the nature of your friendship and the nature of the other person in any case. We seem to be running out of time, hey, but there's one last thing that I really want to touch on. It's something that I've been trying to sort of, establish for, I don't know, the past 5, maybe even 6 years, just in terms of my friends. So I am a very family-oriented person, right? I love my family to the core. I would do anything for them. But I also love my friends as much, But, sometimes as friends or in relationships, especially friendships, you sort of have to separate the time you spend with your family and the time you spend with your friends, right? But I came to a point in my life where I was spending so much time with my family and so much time with my friends that it was sort of difficult to split myself and give myself to each group equally. So I merged the two, basically, right? I introduced my friends to my family, and I started chilling with my cousins and my friends, and we sort of became one group, right? It's I don't want to say a tactic, but it's something that I saw my cousin do, and his group of friends are. It's just amazing to see, man, because he has his cousins on the one hand, he has his friends on the one hand, and they just merge together so amazingly. It's sort of just effortless for him to, wake up and decide to hang out with the people that he loves, which are his friends and his family. And that's what I've adopted, and it's worked out great for me as well. So I just want to get your final thoughts, Mrs. Grotzinger and Jomari, on how important it is to sort of create a marriage between your societal groups, whether it's your friends and family, whether it's your work friends and, social friends, whether it's your church group friends and social friends, or, just the different type of groups that you have. Jomari, maybe we start with you.
Okay. With my new friend group, we made it, let me just say we made it a goal to get to know each other's parents so that, we have the family aspect. Friends can so easily, we can go out to have a drink and then we're like, oh, but you're my family, man. And, we can easily say that, but there's no depth behind it. So then we just go our separate ways after seeing each other, and then that's that. So, in my life currently, with a new best friend, I involve her in my family's activities. I'm involved in her family activities. We are technically cousins, but that colored way of doing things, like far cousin, that. So she's technically my cousin. So we have the same relatives, but not the day-to-day relatives. So I try my best to involve her in my day-to-day relatives and vice versa. With Sabrina, it's difficult right now because of our different interests, and her family's in South Africa, but with her new family, like her fiance's family, we know them as well. So we grew up in the same church. It's just a whole big family situation. Right. So my life is pretty balanced when it comes to that. I don't have issues with dividing my time, or it used to be like that in 2019. It used to be, it was difficult. So I had to balance school, my friendships and my family. Yeah. And I just couldn't do it anymore, to the point where I just removed myself from everyone. Like I just ignored everyone, didn't go to family events, didn't hang out with friends.
Because it becomes taxing, man.
Yes. And it's so difficult to explain to your family that you have, no, I have this birthday party I have to attend to. But then it comes up like, oh, but you weren't with us last weekend, so can you not put your friends aside, join us? But then school comes up, and it was a lot. So we really made it like a focal point to include ourselves in the friends, like the families of our friends.
Yeah.
So we go, we have barbecues with whoever's parents this weekend. We chill with them, we do, but we won't be there like the entire time. We still need to understand that, okay, they are older, we are young adults.
Of course.
So we don't do the same things, but we can spend an hour, 2 hours together, and then we'll be fine. So that there's also some sort of balance, because it's very, very, very easy to just cross the line.
Yeah.
You just get too comfortable with someone's parents, and then it becomes a whole thing. And no, we don't do that here.
Yeah, you sort of blur the lines, and it can lead to very, compromising situations, especially between you and your friends. I think we have concluded our chat. This is quite an interesting and insightful conversation. Appreciate both of you for making time to chat with us. This is the first episode of the Namibians Youth Chat. I hope you guys do enjoy it. I hope you guys also read our articles every Monday just concerning youth-related matters. And if you do have any, youth-related matters or situations that you think should be spoken about, that you think should be written about, you can always just let us know on our social media platforms. And yeah, thank you so much for joining us, guys. Thanks for tuning in, listeners. And from me, John Colin Namene, it's cheers.